Hey up everyone, I'm back again. So today I just wanted to have a brief look at the Desire 816 dual SIM by HTC, and HTC sneaked this out back in 2014, and I say sneaked out because I do remember a time when the Desire line was looked upon as being like a flagship release. But we can have a look to see if this device offers you anything worth buying, and you can get one of these for about 200 to 250, so they represent decent value for money. And I have to say, in terms of the build quality of the device, it's a bit hit and miss. On one hand, I do like the way it's a 5.5-inch display, so that gives you quite a big room for watching stuff on, but for some strange reason HTC's put the buttons here at the top left, and that means that when you're trying to switch off the device with one hand, you will be stretching quite weirdly. It does also affect the camera kind of performance as well, which means that when you're taking like a picture, you will most likely hit it accidentally. So a bit strange in regards to that aspect. You do get your front facing speakers, which is decent. You know, HTC has been very good at putting the speakers at the front of its devices, and 13 megapixel camera on the back, which supports full HD, which is very nice. Not going with the ultra pixel technology, it seems. And strange place for the USB at the bottom, not in the middle. But you do get this flap area which gives you access to 2 nano SIMs, which is very useful if you like to switch your network up a lot, and a micro SD up to 128 gigs. So not sure if the back is removable. I've had a look and can't see any secret mechanism to open it up, so I assume that the battery is fixed in there, and you're getting a 2600 mAh, so it should power the device through the day quite nicely. Not very oleophobic, the front of the display, as you can see. You get quite a lot of fingerprints on the device, which is a bit annoying. But in terms of the actual display, it's a very pleasant display on this device. Same type of technology as you'd find on the HTC One X, if you can remember that device back in 2012. It did have a very lovely display, which was Super LCD 2, and it's 267 ppi in this display, and it's not sure if it's Gorilla Glass protection, but I do assume it's Gorilla Glass 3 or 2. So the viewing angle is very decent on this device, as well as the outdoors visibility, which is very important obviously on a phablet. So don't expect your high contrast levels you'd find on an AMOLED, but you know, in terms of the text and things like that, it's very decent. Let's see if we can zoom in and see. You should be able to perhaps make that out. You can see that the text is very legible even in overview mode, because it's a bit hit and miss with bigger phablets having a lower resolution display. Sometimes it can be okay, but other times you can really notice it because the screen's spread out a little bit. But I think on this device, you know, HTC gets away with it, and given the price, I'm not too fussed about the lower resolution. It is a bit disappointing that it does come with a Snapdragon 400, which was released in 2013, and it is getting on a bit now, but it is a 1.6 GHz Snapdragon 400, which to me definitely improves the speed of the device in terms of going into stuff, which is generally a very snappy affair. In fact, I was a bit surprised it was Snapdragon 400 when I first got the device. I thought it was a bit higher. given the very nice performance of the device. I think that's probably due to the slightly higher kind of clocking of the processor, coupled with 1.5 gigabytes of RAM, which should be the baseline now for Android. And in terms of your multitasking, again, it's very fluid, as you can see. Very little signs of that annoying reloading that you get with 1 gigabyte RAM devices. So unfortunately there's only 8 gigs internal storage, which means that if you do download a few games and apps, you will find yourself running out of storage very quickly on the device. As you can see, I've only got 1.57 gigs in storage after downloading a few apps and games. So I've got 2 games there, as you can see. So thank God it was supplemented with the 128 gig micro SD, or you'd be kind of stuck there. But in terms of the battery of the device, I've not had any issues with it. As I said, it is a 2600 mAh supplemented with the excellent modes that Sense gives you to really maximize the battery on the device. So you can get your extreme power saving mode or your normal power saving mode, which does all this. And it is a phablet at the end of the day, so it will be drinking quite a lot of power, but you know, you'll be pleasantly surprised with the battery on this device. I think it would have been nice if it was over 3000 mAh, because it is competing with the likes of the Note 2, which can also be had for about 200 now. So but other than that, you're getting a 13 megapixel camera on this device, and I've taken a few shots out and about with it in good lighting, and very competent performance across the board really. Nothing that stands out really much above some of the competing devices, but very acceptable. I think the only area where it really falls down a bit is the low light, that many cameras with this kind of price range do fall down in that respect. It does introduce quite a lot of grain in that particular environment. And the other thing which I found was quite annoying about the device is that I kept turning it off when I was taking pictures, because of the power button down here as well as the volume button. You'll find yourself hitting them, particularly if you're accustomed to using the device like this when you're taking your pictures. You can try and turn it upside down, but then I found my thumb getting in the way of the sensor, so the decision to put the power button up there, a big fail, but you know, it's not too much of an issue as long as you remember it. And you do get the Sense kind of interface, so you can switch to your selfie mode, which is a 5 megapixel, filming at full HD, which is very nice for narcissists out there. And obviously you get your effects that you can put on, which is quite cool, as well as your differences in terms of the white balance, etc. All very customizable. But you do get full HD recording as well at 30 frames per second, as well as 720p at 60 frames per second, so that's quite decent as well. Just a shame that HTC did put the power button in the place it did, but other than that, you know, I think that the handset is quite a decent value proposition for saying that it's, you know, quite affordable. At the end of the day, it is not far off from the Note 4 when it comes to the form factor. You're getting the same kind of big screen. I think the Note 4 is probably a little bit more compact and a bit thinner, but you know, not a huge difference when it comes to the form factor. Obviously the internals aren't the same as the Note 4, but you're not going to expect that for this price. And I think if you're buying this as either a backup device, or if you're someone who doesn't like to spend too much money on a smartphone, you'll be pleasantly surprised with the experience. Just bear in mind the slight ergonomic issues and the kind of plasticky feel of the device. But yeah, you know, I think I'm going to wrap things up now, and I'll give this cautious recommendation. But I hope you found it informative, and if you did, thumbs up the video or something, and I will see you very shortly. Cheers.